Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ray, and we are about to check out the season finale for the first season of Wheel of Time, episode 8. I watched episode 7 yesterday, so I'm going to go ahead and finish out the season, and then I'll kind of give my overall thoughts about the season. I mean, I think I did a pretty thorough job throughout this series, this rewatch series, because of course this is my I'm gonna say third or fourth time watching the finale. I want to say fourth time. This is my fourth time watching it. Yeah, we'll go ahead and give my overall thoughts. I know there's a new scene at the end of this episode, so I will watch the new scene. And then I guess I could talk a little bit about it, but probably I'll probably save my commentary, or most of my commentary, for when I actually see it in the main show. I guess it could be possible that it's a bonus scene and it won't be in the main show, so that'll be interesting. But if that ever happens, then I'll talk about it once I realize it's not going to be in the main show, you know. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it. We all know what happened in the last episode. We had kind of Rand being confirmed as the Dragon Reborn, coming to terms with it a little bit himself, or at least acknowledging it himself, and then telling Moiraine and going to the Eye of the World, and leaving the others behind in Faldara. So we're gonna pick up where we left off and finish out the season. All right, let's go ahead and get to it. 3,000 years ago. This is probably my second. It's my second favorite opening of the season. Third is the Siuan opening, where we get to know her as a little girl. So it goes Blood Snow, then it goes Luz, and then Swan. I really love that we get to see the hear the old tongue. Ugh, he killed this role, by the way. I really am. We need more of him. Let's just say that. Mm-hmm. I do have a little mixed feelings about some of the content of the scene, but I have mixed feelings. I don't hate it, so, you know. But I do understand people's pushback against some of it, so I get it. I love their costuming, by the way. The way it looks like, you know, a slightly futuristic modern day suit, like for both of them. Especially hers. I like that she's the Tamerlan seed and not Amerlin seed, because of course there would be pronunciation shifts like that over 3,000 years. Fuck yeah, it would be. I don't care how good your records are. And I love that we go out here and we basically see this futuristic sci-fi world, and there's the little arena, which makes me think, yeah, actually the city that we catch a glimpse of in the first episode is this city. I'd say the main thing I don't love about the scene is the idea that either of them have any clue what would actually happen if Luz failed. You know, I think the scene could have worked without them acknowledging the idea of corrupting the power or throwing them back 3,000 years. I think it would have been better if they just alluded to, like, and what if you fail and you make everything worse and he destroys this world? And that would have been heavy enough without making it seem like they knew exactly what was going to happen if it went wrong, you know? But again, it's not. It's like I wish, but it's not going to change the modern day story.
Where they're going.
That they kind of had an idea about what could possibly go wrong. You know, 3,000 years later, again, like I say, after 3,000 years, information will be lost. Things will be like forgotten. The breaking of the world literally destroyed everything. So it makes sense that even if they knew in that time, it's understandable that they wouldn't know after the breaking.
So do I.
It's, you know, and the wars and all of the calamity that happened.
Oh, you're right.
It makes sense that that part of it would be forgotten. And so now nobody remembers or knew what was going to happen. So is Lan like 45? How old is he, bro?
To leave him behind.
Yeah. She not ready to talk about that.
Have some of that.
Y'all not close enough for that.
You need to keep up your strength.
Oh, Lan. Like, he knows his duty is to take care of the others, and that's what Moiraine would want, but it's like killing him inside. I actually don't remember this from the book, but
After the Jollicots,
does she have to like constantly concentrate to block the bond, or is it just like a weave and then she kind of lets it sit?
It was her.
Oh, I guess she wouldn't know how to tie it off, really. And you wouldn't want to tie it off. So maybe it's not a weave. Maybe it is just genuine will.
Bring him back.
Concentration.
Then a wisdom.
They're so good together. And they're sweet. He's so sweet with her. Classic book lines.
Me. And I will love him if he makes you smile. You are as
So
beautiful
good.
as the sunrise. You're as fierce as a warrior. You are a lion as wisdom. Tell me how to find them.
Now, I'm totally fine with her teaching him how to find them and everything like that, because it's known that she's an expert tracker.
What did you dream?
But I kind of wish we had seen what she said. But I guess it's one of those things where you gotta keep it vague, otherwise people will nitpick at it. Nice and brutal. I love the idea that he just wears this creepy fake mask just to be creepy. There's like no other reason for it. There's no reason for him to have done that.
That's better.
He just wears it like whatever.
Otherwise.
Keeps his hands completely normal. I really like this choice of actor for this character. He's really selling it.
Behind your eyes.
And the weird homoerotic
What's your
subtext
plan,
between them
Lisa?
two.
You have one, right?
No, this is a dream.
Does it matter? Whether you're asleep or awake? I mean, either way, here we are, finally having a conversation once again.
Him and Luce.
Sit down. It's pathetic, you know.
This is it, isn't it?
Bro, if it was me, I would trip on a root and go tumbling right on into that hole. I would not survive that walk down. I need railings, yo. I'd have to hug the wall and hope for the best.
The dragon to the afterworld will die there.
It's not even super thin, and yet I would still trip and fall.
Does that include you?
Completely die.
1,000 Trollocs in the gap. Seemed like there was no chance he would stop them.
That armor kept him safe through hundreds of battles. And his father through hundreds more. And his father...
I need my armor today, not theirs.
Now, the real question is, would he have survived if he'd been wearing his father's army?
You should stay in the city.
armor.
The gap cannot hold against that force. It
She
simply
absolutely would not, no matter what armor she was wearing, because
The
what
men
killed
will
her
hold the
was
gap.
the one power from inside her.
And if we can,
But
the
he
women will hold the city.
may have lived.
It is what
because
our
what
family
killed
has
him
done
was
for
a
1,000
spear.
years.
What we face today is
Oh, here we go. I love that he's seeing this as an out-of-body experience. Not like he's in the position of lose. Come on, girl. Immediately washed. Just so that you understand the power scaling. Immediately washed. Like, baby, you were not even a contender in this fight, honey.
Must be an awful feeling.
I love that next to the blue of the cloth behind her, it looks like she has a little bit of a blue tint. She might have blue undertones in her hair, but looks real dope.
Fire on my command! Ready!
So this is where you kind of see the constraints of the sudden budget, but it is issues that they encountered and the COVID issues that they encountered and stuff like that. Because I feel like this battle would have been much grander if they had like genuine like time and resources to like do it up, you know. Both the CGI would have been better, and also just I think in general, like we would have had like genuine battle scenes. Maybe some, I don't know, maybe they would have thrown some tar over the side of the wall or something. I don't know.
Moraine's too. Shouldn't be. What's wrong?
Joya is such an interesting name. I assume that's the name because this is all coming from inside his head. So I assume that's a name he has thought, because, you know, he's mentioned multiple times how often he thinks about his life and who he would get married to and his children he would have and all that. So he must have like a bunch of kids' names. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to name my kid this.
I thought you wanted to go to the White Tower too.
And Joya is very pretty, so.
You all right?
He's finally starting to realize how completely sus this whole thing is.
When we were little.
I wonder what he'll choose. Light or dark?
I love the pageantry of this
Without knowing what I was walking
from him.
into, did you?
because
Both know you
I
can't escape this place without.
how do I say this?
And if
He
you
doesn't know
choose
what
tonight,
Rand will choose, but he has an idea of how this is gonna go somehow. I also love how she like holds the knife to his throat, like he's not gonna be able to use the one power to rip the knife out of her hand and then kill her instantly. Like, but I respect her for pulling the knife and being like, I'm gonna gut this child. I respect it. Moiraine is very dedicated to what she wants and what she believes.
Look into her eyes and empty yourself of everything.
I love that Rand kind of thought it through.
Fear.
He couldn't get Moiraine to teach him, and she said she can.
Turn it all.
So he uses this moment to make him teach,
Want that little girl
to learn
so
from
much.
him, and
She simply is.
then use the power against him. It's really good. It's like a glimpse of the Rand he becomes,
Release everything.
who's like
Everything inside.
really good at
Let the power
subterfuge,
flow through you
or not
through an open
it's not
space.
exactly subterfuge, but more like
Don't fight it.
outmaneuvering people more.
To break my chains or to strengthen them.
Now the question, he's been locked here for who knows how long, 3,000 years, whatever. Is this like the first time? I can't remember from the books, but is this like the first time he's talked to somebody in all that time? He's like relishing talking to her and demeaning her and, you know, needling her about her failure, you know. It's like getting entertainment out of it. I love this because you see Egwene and Nynaeve's light so much stronger than everybody else there. And they have more of the tendrils as well, channeling through them. It's a nice touch. I love it. Just to power scale a little bit here. Oop, burns out. That was the woman that was Lan's friend or caretaker's, I guess, relative, wife, who knows, but it totally is sad, actually, when you think about the fact that Lan had someone so close to him just die there.
Make it what you want.
That's not the woman I love.
Love this 360 spin. Alternating between this dream world, this fantasy world, and this the real world. Nice. And then this little smile on his face as he gets exactly what he wants. Oh, second burnout. Yeah, it's like in this moment you understand exactly why she flunked out of Aes Sedai school. She absolutely was not able to handle the amount of power that she could potentially wield. Like, maybe she could have been taught differently and succeeded, but not with the way the Aes Sedai teach now. Certainly not. Or maybe she just wasn't powerful enough to be able to handle the full Aes Sedai power that channeling 4 women would do. It's... I'll talk about this scene after, because I have mixed feelings about it. I don't hate it, but I have mixed feelings about it. Oof. And third burnout. Ooh, I really like the makeup on there for her burnout.
Why? You're Ta'veren.
You don't know what
All
that is,
5 of
mean
you,
man.
focal points for the wheel.
There we go. Thank you.
Usually there's only 1, maybe 2 in a generation, but 5 of you in 1.
5 in 1 village is crazy.
That's what Moiraine saw.
Mm-hmm.
What my lord saw. The Trollocs, not to kill you, but to bring you to him.
When they start getting into the Ta'veren-ness, I love it. It's like some of my favorite stuff, by the way, the Ta'veren stuff. And I'm really curious how they're going to adjust it for Egwene and Nynaeve, especially. Hey, one last shot. So long, brother. You did well.
I'm not going back. What they say about man who can channel, that eventually they go so mad they kill everyone they've ever loved.
It is.
Indeed it is. The question, of course, being, would they if they got proper mental health care?
Tell them I died here.
Like, the way this story is low-key about, like, providing proper health and medical and mental health services. It's like a central theme of the Wheel of Time. Especially for trauma, PTSD, complex PTSD, because there's a lot of that in this story. Anyway, I ain't gonna talk about that, but like, I'm sorry, I've mentioned how much I love The Way of the Leaf. as a concept, but the reality is that I don't believe that all violence is evil. Sometimes it is necessary. It's just about being well-rounded enough and wise enough to know when it's necessary and when it's absolutely not. And a lot of people fall short there. Terrible. Her vulnerability there. But she kept it together throughout that entire interaction until this moment where she, like, you know, let go with the person who is closest to her and who should be able to feel her but can't. It's like a really weird conundrum where sorry, I'm distracted by this scene. Like I said, I've loved the way they've like really leaned into the Egwene Nynaeve bond this season. They've really made them feel like sisters in a way that I feel like we don't really get to until a little bit later. Like they really brought this relationship to life on screen. I love it. But I do have some quibbles. All right, back on mission. She had her moment to be vulnerable, and now it's over. It's not over, but it's done for now. Let's compartmentalize it. All right, and then we have our final scene of the old series before they added the new final scene, which I'm going to watch. Here on the far western shore. Now, you'll of course remember that in episode 6, Mygon mentioned that she was on her way here to investigate rumors of ships disappearing off the coast, I think it was. So the question, of course, is, did Mygon make it here? And is she about to die in this tsunami? Or is she going to show up in season 2 investigating this? Sorry, little girl. Looks like your thread is about to get cut. All right, this is the new scene. Okay, we've got the symbol of the flame and the claw, or the talon. Got some trollops. Girl, get inside.
Beast near the eye of the world. And he thinks he can hide. He cannot.
We are to kill him?
Perhaps he can be turned.
Come on.
The
call me Monster
veils.
Too, you know?
Okay.
Along with a litany of other unflattering names. Father of lies. Betrayer of hope.
Yep. Pattern Fane. What was the point? What was the reason?
Do I look like a monster to you?
No.
She's like, what answer won't get me killed? Don't bite this little girl's hand. I swear to God. Thank you. I'm sure she'll grow up to be a menace, but right now she's a child. Very nice. All right, that was episode 8 of season 1 of The Wheel of Time. I finished my rewatch of season 1 just before season 2 is going to drop. Basically, I do, like I said, this is one of the episodes that was heavily impacted by the pandemic and by the decision for one of the actors to not return. So there's a lot of things in it that I understood and they had to kind of adjust simply because they just couldn't use the script that they would have originally used. They ran into budget issues. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. So there's a lot of things that I just don't care about because of that. Like, I mean, honestly, I don't absolutely care about it even without those challenges, but like things like CGI weirdness and goofiness, I would have loved a cooler battle, a more interesting battle, but hey, you know what, you work with what you got. The battle wasn't really that important for what the story was trying to convey. It was mostly just about Rand and his choice. That was like half the episode, so like whatever, you know. Obviously I remember a little bit, obviously I remember in the books, doesn't he come back and kill everything? I can't remember. I think that's what happens. It's been, like I said, it's been a long time since I read these books, but I'm pretty sure he comes back and Rand like lays waste to the army or whatever. But you know, obviously they're not going to do that because they're going to have the story of season 2 be Rand trying to make it on his own and separating himself from the rest because he's afraid of hurting them and he's afraid that he's going mad, etc., etc. And so it's a good place to have him disappear off into the night. And like also separate them in that way because they do a lot go on separate journeys. Like they're not always together. They all go on like a bunch of separate individual journeys that is tailored or specifically for them. Sorry, I didn't change the photo. Whatever. So I do think that there's a like an inherent clunkiness in some of the storytelling here. Not just though, it's not only because of the constraints that the show was on. I think that there are a couple of things that I didn't love, that I think could have been adjusted. The chief one, obviously I mentioned that, you know, I saw it and I was going to kind of talk about why I have mixed feelings about it, and that's of course the scene with Nynaeve and Egwene. And it's not the scene itself, it's not the heart of the scene. Like I love what this was doing for their bond, the callback to episode 1 and what Nynaeve said to Egwene during her initiation into the women's circle, bringing back those lines. I loved all of that. And like I said, I feel like this first season has really, like, in a way that I just didn't feel in the books until a little bit later on. But I just feel the bond, the sisterly bond between Nynaeve and Egwene much more. Because I feel like aging Egwene up meant that her and Nynaeve were a little bit more on equal footing earlier on. And so they feel more like friends and sisters to me than like a teacher and her ward, you know. But I don't love that Nynaeve looked like she was dead, because you can't, this is a slight spoiler I guess, but you're not bringing back somebody from the dead using just a random person using just the one power doing that. Even as strong as Egwene is, it's not happening. Yeah, Egwene's not, certainly not at this point. Egwene's certainly not going to be bringing anybody back from the dead. I'll leave it there. So I didn't love that she looked exactly like the other 3 women who burned out and died. I think they could have done more with lightening up the makeup of the CGI on her face. I think they could have maybe had a moment where you see her lips moving or her hand twitch or whatever before Egwene starts, you know, using the power, so that you know that she's still alive. She's just literally on the brink of death, about to die. And then have Egwene heal her. Like, I know a little bit of book talk as well. I know that Egwene is not really a healer. It's like not her bag. But I can accept that in the desperation of that moment as a Taviran, that, you know, the one power just moved through her. And the wheel moved through her and healed Nynaeve. I actually can think that even now. But I still wish slightly that the makeup or the CGI around her face had been either less severe or she had moved a little bit while Egwene was like maybe not looking, like maybe Egwene, like, you know, is crying and so she hunches over Nynaeve's chest, and then we, the audience, can see that Nynaeve's hand is still moving or something. I think we could have had something like that. But anyway, that's kind of like a quibble. Like, they can, in the second season or in the future season, they can talk about how, did you bring her back to life? No. I could still hear you or something. I don't know, whatever. They can explain it away. And I could honestly wave it away. It's just like a little quibble that I didn't love. How do I feel about the actual scenes in the dreamscape with Rand and our resident dark one? I am completely fine with them repurposing that scene for Rand. Let's say that. I like the idea that the battle between them wasn't really a physical battle or even really a magical one. It was completely mental and emotional battle. Obviously magic was involved. You know, the one power was involved, but like, it wasn't the point of the battle. The point of the battle was about their willpower, was about who could trick who doing what, who could talk who into doing this, you know? So it was like a battle of wits, and I really like that. And I like that it showed this kind of emotional maturation that Rand has been on the entire season, and it kind of culminates in this moment because, of course, he's been such an ass all throughout the season about the fact that Egwene decided that she was going to be a wisdom and broke up with him. And like, he keeps going back and forth on that, like, ooh, I understand, no, but you left me. Oh, I understand, no, but you left me. Oh, is this about Perrin? Like, you know, like the whole back and forth between them it was a bit much. But it made sense for him because it was like, she's his first love and they're like 19, 20 years old. It's like it's a whole thing. But it all like culminates into this one moment where he has everything he could ever want in front of him, and he could make it his. He could force it. He could strip away he could strip away Egwene's like autonomy and her choice, but he doesn't, because he knows in his heart that not only would that be wrong, and that's not in his nature to do that, but also that and not just that she wouldn't want it, and if he did, she wouldn't be the person he would love anyway. Like, she would be some shell of a person, some doll, some facsimile of the woman that he fell in love with. Like, why would he ever do that to a woman that he loved? He would never. So, like, you have this idea of this temptation. It's like the whenever I say temptation, I always want to say, temptation of Christ. But there is a bit of that. Like, we all know that Rand is, like, every savior, especially a white savior, modern day. Like, when I say modern day, I mean in the last, like, 200 years. Every kind of white savior figure in stories is low-key a little bit of a Jesus, Western white European Jesus metaphor in some way. Some kind of, you're just never gonna get out of that. Even if, you're just never gonna get out of that influence on that kind of archetype and that kind of character. Low-key, they're almost always some kind of, Jesus metaphor. So you have this idea of this temptation in this, it's not a garden, but it's like this dreamscape, this idyllic farm town dreamscape of a simple life, and all that. And so I really like the idea of the last battle, or what they think is the last battle, or the first battle. Let's call it what it is. The first battle being this this battle of wits. It's cool. I like it. I like it a lot. Let's talk a little bit about that opening. That's the second thing that I wasn't sure about. I kind of talked about it during the episode, but I'm not 100% on whether or not I'm 100% know that I don't really love that they kind of allude to the fact that everybody kind of had an idea about what could happen if it failed, that the male half of the power would be corrupted, and that it would throw society back thousands of years. Like, I don't love that they all knew that. Again, it doesn't ruin the current storyline or the current timeline, because at the end of the day, all of 3,000 years have passed, and so nobody's going to know that they had a slight inkling about what could happen. But it does slightly adjust. You could consider it as us seeing what people think happened a little bit. It's tough. It's harder to do in visual form, because in visual form, we're more inclined to believe what we can see and hear. Whereas in written form, you could say, oh, this is being told through the annals of this, this scholar who studied the sacred text, whatever. It's harder to do that in a live action. So I don't want to give it too much leeway, but I do kind of wish that it had been a little bit vaguer about what could happen if he failed, if Lews Therin failed. So I think it was a little bit too on the nose for me. But I did love the scene itself. I loved hearing the old tongue. I loved getting to see Lews. I loved getting the understanding that this is a post-apocalyptic world, and that 3,000 years ago they had megatropolises and flying cars and stuff like that, advanced mix of technological wonders and magical wonders from the One Power. It was just real nice touch. And of course, now I know that probably that city is the city from the first episode. So that was cool. Other than that, we got a lot of portents from Padan Fain, and trying to psych Perrin out, and he stabs Loial. I don't believe he's dead, obviously, but and of course by now I've seen some of the promo material, so obviously I know that Loial is in season 2. But I do really like the kind of connection that they've kept present between Padan Fain and Perrin, and the way it feels like, especially the last 2 episodes, they had to try and, because let me say this, I'm guessing that in the original script that those scenes were going to happen between Padan Fain and Mat, because Mat, of course, had the original connection with Padan Fain from the first episode. There's been a lot of callbacks to the first episode in this one, by the way. It's the 4th one that I've mentioned. Even the Sangreal is actually a callback to the first episode where Moiraine was getting dressed. But anyway, You can see kind of that was probably something they had to adjust and make it Perrin instead. But probably in the original script it was going to be Matt, which would make more sense because they have Matt and Fane have a closer connection. Not only because of the first episode, but also because Fane has been following Matt and Rand throughout the entire story. He wasn't following Perrin and Egwene, or even Nynaeve, Moiraine, Lan. He was following Matt and Rand. So it makes me wonder if actually he had narrowed it down to either Matt or Rand early on, and that's why he decided to follow them instead. I'm actually quite curious about that. Actually, now it just occurred to me that he had probably narrowed it down, but he wasn't sure. So he sent, certain minions to follow the others, but he followed the one he thought the most was the dragon. Maybe that's it. Anyway, so probably that seems going to be Matt. But I do like how they just adjusted it for Perrin and kind of emphasize the way he can like dig at Perrin's insecurity about his relationship to violence. Like I said, I don't believe that violence is never the answer. I think violence can sometimes be the answer, as well. Yes, so I'm not somebody who would follow the way of the leaf, even though I'm fascinated by it. But I do understand that it's Perrin's kind of struggle with that, with understanding when and how to use violence, because he has such a horrific experience with it. So, we also got the third thing. I think this is the third thing. The other thing I wasn't too happy about was that Lan wasn't involved in the episode as much as I would have loved. Either I would have preferred I don't know. Because if he'd stayed in the city and fought, he wouldn't have gotten to Moiraine in time before she pulled herself together and came back. But that conversation between them at the end needed to happen in order for us to understand that she couldn't release the bond, or not release the bond, but reestablish the bond. And she understand what happened to her, that she had lost the ability to touch the source. And then also get the conversation that lets us know that this is not the final battle. This is not the last battle, but is in fact the first. And that's why I think they had him leave early and then travel through the Blight tour. But maybe, I don't know. I mean, with a longer episode or more time, maybe we could have gotten 2 episodes here and then got like a really big battle in the penultimate, and then the final episode could have been like a smaller battle with Lan. I don't know, in a perfect world, maybe. Because I really would have preferred to see him kind of in action, just doing his thing. But it is what it is. Now let's talk about the new scene. So we get this scene of this meeting between people who very clearly are all servants of the dark. And you get this little girl who's playing outside, and she sees a bunch of Trollocs and she runs inside scared. And of course you're assuming that these Trollocs are going to kill this little girl and that she's just some random village girl. But no, she's not. She's one of the Dark Friends' daughters. We don't know exactly who. By the clothing, they almost look like Tuatha'an, I want to say. But I can't be 100% about that. But they looked like Tuatha'an to me. And of course we get the slow shot of everybody at the table in their different, clothes, and their different, like we had the fingers of the Shan member. And obviously we have Fane take his hood down for whatever reason, to just be creepy at this little girl and freak her out. There's absolutely no reason to have done that other than to just scare this little girl. But and I guess show us that Pat and Fane was there at the table. But anyway, yeah, so interesting way to kind of draw a line under the fact that dark friends are everywhere and could be anyone, literally anyone. Like, obviously in the first season we had my queen, Dana, who was so unsuspecting, and yet she turned out to be a dark friend, and like one of the most effective dark friends too, in terms of like being scary and creepy, like making you like her and then turning out to be evil. Like, that's what dark friends should do. You should never suspect who's a dark friend, because one, they're spies, you know, so being easily detectable would be terrible form. But also it's like this idea that you can't judge a book by its cover, like literally, like you can never fully know somebody and what they think and what they feel, and darkness and evil can lie in the hearts of anyone. And that's the kind of idea or message that needs to be learned, with the idea that anybody could be a dark friend, no matter who it is. Can't trust anybody 100%. I don't want to say that. You can trust people, but like it you gotta prepare for the idea that maybe somebody that you love is a dark one. Let's say that. Or not a dark one, a dark friend. So, yeah, so we're going to go ahead and table the discussion there, and we'll jump into season 2 once the episode releases tomorrow. And then I'll be filming. I don't know when this is going on YouTube. It's going to take me a while to edit. I'm still going back and forth on whether or not I want to put something online on YouTube while the strike is happening. So who knows? But feel free. No, yeah, that's all I really want to say. I guess I do in general want to talk about the season as a whole. Like I've mentioned before, my favorite episodes are 4, 5, and 6. That remains so even after this rewatch. Although, again, I like the first 2 episodes quite a bit. So it's like 4, 5, and 6 are great to me. 1 and 2... 1 and 2 feel like a paired episode. Like, they feel like they go together perfectly. So I almost want to put those at good. And then episode 3 also at good, but it feels like a completely different contained story. Obviously, 7 and 8 are the weakest. They're just always going to be the weakest for various reasons. Not just because of the constraints, but just in general for me. Like, episode 7 is definitely the weakest for me. I do not love. Like, half of that I do not love. Episode 8 I actually like more than episode 7. I know a lot of people feel the opposite, but I do really like. I think it's the stuff that I didn't like about the Rand Dragon Reborn reveal, and all of the stuff with Perrin's crush. All that stuff is what like made me really not like episode 7. I think that's it. I genuinely think that's it, and that's why I like episode 8 more, because a lot of that is resolved, to be honest. But anyway, it doesn't matter, because it's not like episode 7 is like the worst of the worst episode of TV that I've ever watched or anything. So like overall, the whole season, I would give it probably like 7.5, 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed the first season of The Wheel of Time. I had a blast. It shot me back to like my memories of reading the books and how I felt about reading the books. And like, I like seeing the characters that I love come to life on screen. And I think that the casting has been incredible for this show. Like, if there's one thing you can take from this show, it's that the casting has been great. And I have enjoyed all of the performances. Some more than others, obviously, but like, I have genuinely enjoyed all of the performances. So if there's one thing I can say about that, is that I'm having a blast watching them on screen, especially the cast chemistry. I think they have really good chemistry all together, and they're really fun to watch on screen together, personally. That's just me, I guess. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. I've talked about this enough. We're going to jump into season 2 tomorrow. As soon as the episode airs and I get off of work, I will be watching it and recording it. Okay. Actually, I think they're going to release more than just one episode, right? Are they releasing 3 like they did the first season? If so, then I don't know. I might be able to get through all 3 of them tomorrow, but I don't know. I might have to wait until the weekend. Yeah. I might have to wait until like Saturday or Sunday, something like that, for me to film it. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. We'll end it there. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment down below. Of course, you can find full length and other like stuff that's in the vault on my Patreon. If you're seeing this on YouTube, feel free to follow me on Twitter. I don't know how often I will be posting, but I have the Twitter account reserved. Patreon, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. It's the same everywhere. Same handle everywhere. Yeah. And I will see you guys in the next episode. The start of a new season. Let's go.
Baby, it's whatever. All this ever, but you long gone, it don't matter.